So today is our first Dean Speaker event for the spring semester, and we always try to bring in industry professionals. And Bobby from Western Alliance was here a little earlier, and we actually got to talk to a couple of classes, and we had some really good questions out of that already. So I expect this panel is going to be a well worth your time coming here. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Rob Loy. I'm a director here in the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology. A lot of the things I do is to make sure that you as students have opportunities to expand beyond the classroom. When you go interview, they don't want to hear that you just came to class and got your four-year degree, even if you got a 4.0. They want to know what you did outside the classroom. So I'm trying to help students. We do our RDP projects. We do our internships. We bring in speakers to campus. We ask you to volunteer, join clubs, all that kind of fun stuff. So this is one of those things you put in your toolbox, where it asks what you did at GCU. You can say you went to a Dean Speaker event and talked to industry professionals, ask questions in the FinTech area. How many of you know what FinTech is? Well, you guys got your work cut out for you. It looks like that. So with that, we'll go ahead and allow our panel to introduce themselves. So we'll start over with John and just work our way this way. Pretty much, I like to have our panelists talk about how they got to the role, because I think everyone's journey and where they are today is unique. So if you can start maybe like wherever you were after high school and maybe the quick run through of how you got to where you did today.
So my name is John Chase. Let's see, I started programming, believe it or not, at age 7. Learned BASIC. I know it's way old language for y'all, but I picked it up myself. Went to college, not 4 scholarships, 2 for scholastic, 2 athletic. Right out of college, I went into healthcare, IT, developing. From healthcare, I went to telecom, lived all over the world. Great experience as a team lead. And then slowly got into the management role. From software development manager, I became a director. And at the last place before I came here, I was basically the director, the VP, and CTO. That's how I got the white beard. It was too much for me. Right now, I am the software development manager for Cambridge Investment Research.
Hey, my name is BOBBYE BENSON. My career, so we're going back, right out of high school. I went into the Marine Corps. I spent some time over there, keeping America safe, meeting new people and eliminating them. After that, I moved into the tech world more specifically. In the Marine Corps, I did a lot of counterintelligence and a lot of the information disinformation. So that means we had to have telecom skills and a lot of that stuff. So when I came out, I hit the voice over IP industry, and I was working for a company called Cerillium, and I was just one of their lead engineers at that time. I moved through my career pretty quickly, but I realized that I needed to get a degree, because I had all that military experience, didn't have it, but I didn't have the degree. I finished up my degree, and then I came back and got my master's degree here at GCU. So I'm a LOPE. And so I have a perfect mix of both business and technology. So I am definitely somebody who understands business, but I drive it through technology. And I am currently working as a vice president in the strategic IT initiatives at the bank. And basically what that means is I build new departments and hand them off to other managers. So I just recently completed building a NOC from absolute zero. And then I'm getting ready to hand that off. And I've taken on a new project where I'll be building release management as well as applications monitoring and response.
Looking out of the room, when I was your age, I was majoring in music theory and composition. That was my start into technology. When I mean start into technology, I went to Glendale Community College. Then I went to ASU, majoring in music. And as my wife's about to graduate, my girlfriend then at the time, about to graduate with her degree, I'm looking at the want ads, looking at jobs out there for music theorists, and there ain't any. So I joined the Air Force and was immediately engrossed in programming, networking. I went on to get my degree in IT. I got Cisco certified. I began teaching the Cisco programs, the Red Hat academies. the VMware academies through my life while working in technology. Worked at Charles Schwab for about 9 years, automating scripts that would determine when outages were about to occur. And then started delving into cybersecurity when that started becoming hot, becoming fascinated with cybersecurity. Today I run the Cybersecurity Monitoring Center, the SOC, over at Western Alliance Bank. I'm kind of a peer of Bobby. He runs the NOC, I run the SOC. I have 6 analysts, 2 engineers, hiring another engineer. 2 graduates of GCU are going to be coming on board. I think they're seniors now. And they're going to be, they've already been offered jobs, and they'll be coming to work for me in the summer. That's me.
So what you're hearing here is that there's no one way to get to the job you want. And for those over in the business college, you just heard a bunch of IT jargon and stuff like that. We will get to why you're here to hear about FinTech from your perspective. So don't worry about that part of it. But let's go ahead and start off. What is FinTech? What's the definition, and how does your company define FinTech?
All right, so FinTech is everything that you guys are seeing all over the place anywhere. Applications, if you're looking at Cash App, you're looking at Venmo, anything that we are allowing you to move digital currency back and forth from your investment and retirement account to paying the babysitter, that's FinTech. Now, FinTech is a disruptor in the industry, which means that it is looking to disintermediate banks. And I'm a bank. So what that means to me is I make my money on transactions. Every time you swipe a credit card, we're taking 3%. Every time somebody does a wire transfer for a mortgage and they're moving it from the buyer to the seller and from the seller back to the buyer, we take a percentage of those transactions. And what FinTech is looking to do is to disintermediate that by stepping in the middle and making it so that people are direct. It saves people money, but it also creates a bunch of other challenges, and we're going to dive into that. And that's where it's going to hit you on the business side of the house. So all of my business students, I'm on your side. So I'm a business guy myself, and I can kind of tell you why it's important for you business students to understand FinTech and how it can drastically affect the business that you're going into, even if you don't think it will.
From my perception with FinTech, I've been in FinTech for 19 years. Really, it's anything you're doing to automate or to make the processes much more efficient for finances, accounting, banks, investments. Venmo, that's FinTech. Every single company, believe it or not, has accounting in it. When I was your age, I was going to go into IT for video games. I've not programmed a darn line for video games. It's all FinTech. Every single company, whether you're a developer, business analyst, scrum master, a product owner, that's FinTech. FinTech is so huge right now. You have no idea how big it is.
And I'll just add, when you log into our website, westernalliancebank.com, that front face is hosted by us. Bobby and I make sure that thing is secure, make sure that performance is well and availability is there. But when you start doing a transaction and logging into your account, it's passively and behind the scenes operating on a FinTech. A FinTech helps us. It's called FIS. You can Google that, FIS. FIS actually operates the back end and all the operations of our clients who log in. They brand it as us, but it's all operating on their end, which is good for us because we can offset the cost of that and have the FinTech financial technology company do that for us. But it poses some challenges. Now we have a split operation. So they have a network operations center that's making sure the back end is up and operational. They have a cybersecurity center that I coordinate with to make sure that if we have any breaches, that to find out if it occurred on my end or their end, and then we coordinate and collaborate. But there's some challenges there. And of course, on the business side, you have business analysts on FIS side that's making sure everything's up and running. They look at patterns and transactions, and if there's a drop in transactions suddenly during the middle of the day, those business analysts can let us know and say, hey, something's wrong. And it's not good that if the business is telling you that things are broken, you kind of want to know before that. But there's a good cohesive partnership with fintechs and the business analysts in fintechs to let us know when patterns of disruption occur.
So you kind of mentioned it, that, I mean, you said every company is kind of a fintech company to some extent. If I was a Walmart, where does fintech fit into like that environment?
Every time you pay me. And it's also on the back end with my suppliers, my logistics chains, making sure that things are showing up on time. A lot of that comes from the same big data conglomeration of information. So I know I'm probably jumping ahead a bit here, but when you think fintech, you should really be thinking about AI and ML. Because, and people get confused about it. AI is about teaching a computer to act like a human. ML is where it takes big data and it looks for patterns and it's responding to those patterns in a proactive manner. So you're going to see a lot of machine learning inside of every business because it's what's going to create those economies of scale and allow you to be more profitable more quickly and make better decisions. So fintech is going to be in everybody's backyard very, very soon.
I'd probably add that the data analytics, going to Walmart. So if you go to Walmart and you buy a toilet paper, that toilet paper is going to be deducted from the supplies, and so there's programs in line that knows that once it reaches a certain point, it will automatically order that for the supplies. So instead of people going in and checking, well, I only have 4 cases of toilet paper today. It already knows those orders are already out to the vendor to be ordered. And one of the places where I worked at, we actually wrote software that was kind of before its time for AI for grocery stores. Grocery stores, the profit margin is really only about 2 to 6%. Our software, because we wrote the software that could automatically order, and then it also took a look at profit and loss. It also looked at if people were skimming the cashier or in the back end, if people were taking items off from a truck. But all that was like 20 years ago. And that is huge in stores now, especially with this economy and companies are looking at bottom line. The more that you can increase that profit, it's going to be there.
So is every department within a company a fintech department? I mean, you talked about supply chain, I think, from that extent. Can you make the case that marketing has a fintech component? Because you're still paying, right? You have vendors and suppliers and stuff.
We at Cambridge, we actually have a huge marketing department. And the company I'm at right now, it's all fintech. It's investments. So we have a huge different marketing groups, and they differentiate also within marketing. So there's internal, there's external, there's ones for the FPs, there's ones for our partners and stuff, and it's huge. It's huge. Like I said earlier, fintech is huge, real huge.
I wouldn't go as far to say marketing is fintech, but they definitely have to have knowledge of it because at our bank, as we grow our products and services to our clients are looking for a faster way to make payments. We all probably use, our phones. We use PayPal. We get, money from our parents through these fintechs through our phones. But those technologies are limited to the number of transactions and the amount of the transactions per day. Commercial industry can't stand for those limits on transactions because think of Grand Canyon University here. They have to pay many people. They have to pay their employees. They have to pay the folks that maintain the buildings. They have to pay the folks that deliver the food that you eat for lunch. And so that equates to thousands of transactions. Limits are tremendous, $10,000, $30,000 in some cases, right? So those little apps you get money from your parents from aren't going to work. So we have to have something that's more versatile, something that'll get those payments over quickly, and that's where the fintechs come in with their products. Western Alliance Bank partnered with a company that will actually convert the money to Bitcoin on the back end, and from wallet to wallet, be able to make that transaction immediately. So when you have that immediate transaction, then you have an immediate increase in the amount of money in a bank account. And that person can now start making interest on the faster you get it into that account, the faster you make interest. So it's better for the client. It's better for our clients that we have that capability. So marketing, they got to market that idea. They got to say, we're a better bank because we can get you paid quicker, right? We have these FinTech companies that support new ways of making transactions to get that money into your account quicker.
So we'll open up the questions after this next one. So start thinking what kind of questions you might have for our panel up here. But Mike, I want to go back to you because I think we define FinTech as moving money back and forth. Each time you move money, that's a security risk, I imagine. So your job is to protect all those potential connections in there, right? Or at least identify those. So what's cybersecurity's role in FinTech?
Well, there's a couple of different roles that the FinTechs plays and my group plays. Any sort of transaction with our bank requires an audit, a log to tell what happened, who, what, where, why, when, how behind each transaction. And when we can combine all that into a logging infrastructure, combine it with machine learning and AI, we can look for patterns of transactions that may look suspicious, malicious. Just to give you a quick example, if you have a company, if GCU is sending payments to a company that for food constantly to Newark, New Jersey, but all of a sudden that payment goes to China, who catches that? In many cases, it's the machine learning mechanisms that FinTechs provide us and that we provide ourselves that can catch those anomalies and say, something's not right. We have 3 days to catch that transaction and get that money back before GCU is at a loss, right? If 3 days pass, the Fed government won't work with us, and they'll basically say, that money's been cleaned and gone. So that's one example. Luckily, my organization, because the FinTechs take care of our front-facing and our money transactions, it's their security operations that do that. My group is responsible for the corporate infrastructure, protection of the corporate infrastructure. So we have to make sure people aren't getting phished. We have to make sure our firewalls don't have holes in them, that some of our internal applications to support the business don't have vulnerabilities and are being compromised. So that's what my group does, but certainly we coordinate with our FinTechs, with FIS, with Fiserv, and we get together with their security groups to see what sort of things they're seeing and things that might be hitting our bank from their side.
So, and John, we were talking about from a development perspective, you're building all the interfaces that allow the transactions, the APIs, the microservices and stuff like that. So what is the software development, software engineering, computer science role in the FinTech?
The developer route and it's going to differ from company to company. I've been a developer and I was completely full stack. At this current company, our developers will get their requirements and start to develop it. And and you have QAs, you have DBAs and everything, but you have to code according to certain standards. So if you accept payments, you have to be PCI compliant. You can't have the credit card sitting out on a database locally or wherever. There's so much more than I can code. That's great. I can code too. I can go on YouTube and learn how to do JavaScript. There's so many more standards, practices, patterns you have to learn. But for cybersecurity, as much as there is a big rift between IT and IS, IT is your best friend. They are the ones that will help you, show you exactly where the issues are, and it's really a good relationship between IS and IT.
So, Bobby, how do they all fit together now? I'll let you kind of cover that piece of it.
So when we started talking about bringing all this stuff together, I'm going to go back a little bit. All FinTech is digital accounting. Everything that we're learning about dollar cost averaging and return on investment and all that other stuff, all we've done is digitize it, put it into a system to where the computer can help us with all of the things that we don't want to do, the detailed statistics, creating performas, and doing all of that, what we consider to be grind work. So you take that and then you couple it with making things easier for your customers. FinTech will attract customers to business. It gives you unique opportunities to differentiate yourself against your competition. So if I'm a bank and somebody says, "Oh, can I Zelle you, $50?" and oh, my bank doesn't have Zelle. Suddenly, that customer is like, "Well, why is my bank so out of date?" Hey, can you Venmo me the money to be able to pay the babysitter? Oh, babysitter says that she doesn't do Venmo. You have to give her cash. You're going to find a new babysitter. So what you're doing here is you're finding that the ease of transition of funds between parties, if you can't make that easy for people, they will find somebody who will. And so you've got to keep that in mind, that think of FinTech as a business differentiator that is secured and is highly monitorable, because every time you do that, you also have big data. You're collecting things. You now know more about your customers. You know how much they're willing to spend per week. At your grocery store, when you swipe your little ID or you punch in your phone number, please believe that we are not only capturing what you bought and the dollar amount that it came up to, but we are going out and we're bringing that information in and we're saying, you know what, let's amalgamate that with this person who has big data on marketing. And your phone number for their database will come to this database. We will index those two together and we will have a beautiful picture of who you are, who's in your house, how much money you spend, and why you spend it. That's FinTech. So believe that. FinTech is big business.
Yeah, and data is the driver for all this stuff. So how many of you here have had some form of a data class, whether it's accounting numbers or databases, physical stuff? Business college, you guys learned something about data, right? Okay. So what question do we have? Anybody have a question for this group? So I'm going to repeat the question first for the people that are online. So the question is about data privacy, data algorithms, and the learning you can get from the data. I know I oversimplified it, but they heard the question. That should give us enough to get started.
So I'll repeat it a bit too. What she was mentioning was Target was collecting information about individual women, and it was telling them about prenatal vitamins and the spend that these women were doing. And she was wondering about the data protections that people have in place around these areas. Is that the correct statement? Okay. In that area, the protection of metadata has not caught up. Legislation has not caught up. So what you're going to see is if I can take this information and correlate it with something else, that's me creating something new. Whether I paid for it because I went, Target went and bought information from, JoJo's Jump Barn. If it works for them and they can correlate it with your unique phone number, your unique address, that's what we call PII, personally identifiable information. So if I can do that and you sign the little thing that you never read, you just accept and you keep going, you've told me I can do that. And so that's what you have to be aware of. And that's the hook that a lot of these companies are using to dodge the legal action that you might be concerned about.
But let's be honest, are the legislatures who collect your PII to determine your voting patterns and your demographic going to put a stop to that? Something to think about, right? Yeah.
It's too beneficial to all the people who are the ones that are making laws that are supposed to protect.
And to be a devil's advocate, there is some benefit to collecting data and knowing what's wanted in the society, right? Knowing what items we're running out of, what items people need, what items people want, what they don't like, where we need to improve certain things. So there's arguments for and against. There are always going to be. Hopefully create a balancing act.
Is the flow of data what's driving FinTech? Or can you do FinTech without data?
No. Hard no.
Easy answer. Okay, we had a question over here. So the question, I'm going to repeat that in a nice way, I think. Basically, should we be using data for good or evil?
So where is the moral line about how you handle the data that is collected? Okay. So those of you whose classroom I walked into, you guys understand that I am hyper aggressive. I am a business person. The line is wherever you tell me I have to stop. If you clicked I accept I'm going right up to the line. If it's going to help me make that additional dollar without doing anything to break a law, that's morally acceptable. So you, as a consumer, have to wake up and pay attention to what you're saying, yes, I accept. You have to be proactive. You have to drive your legislators to make changes. Sitting back, waiting for somebody to govern you and to save you from yourself is an ill-gotten gain, and it doesn't make any sense for you to do it.
And it is tough with the direction society is going and the world is going. If you're going to push against it, go off grid, right? And they won't ever get your data.
Doomsday prepper.
Wow, this has took a turn, huh? So John, as you're from a software development, from a development perspective, I mean, obviously we're talking a lot about data, but do you build that in mind when you're building your applications? Like, I need to support the data components for this stuff, or are you building more for functionality?
We actually build for both. Data, we have architects that their job is to architect a system. Their job is to say, if we make this change, how is this going to affect our 260 other different applications? And yes, we do have 260 applications. So having an architect that knows all of the systems, they will get the requirements. And as a developer, you also question some of those requirements because maybe you know a little bit more than a brand new architect in on the system, but you have to code according to the data. Normalized, denormalized, is it NoSQL, is it SQL? How are you going to store it? How big is the database going to be? How big are those rows? How many columns are you going to have in there? You have to look at efficiency in speed. If you have an application, and we used to have an application that would run 8 hours for compensation, if that runs even longer as you get more and more transactions in, where is it gonna end? So we've actually re-architected everything. Everything runs within 3 hours. But in 20 years, what's going to happen with like all of the more data coming in? You got to be thinking with the data in mind completely for development.
Business students, what kind of questions do you have? Yes.
He's asking how we protect our clients with all the negative going. Maybe you're referring to FTX and some of the cryptocurrency, the hacking that's going on. I was just reading that even as the FTX creator was put in jail or on trial, hackers are still going through his back doors and collecting like $450 million, just still continuing to rob FTX. So how do we do that? We're not wanting to approach, and I'm not going to speak for Western Alliance Bank future, but present, we're not wanting necessarily to approach too much into the Bitcoin transactions, so to say. But in a way, we are. We'll take clients that are members of what's called TASAT Pay, and so far there's 3 banks involved in this trusted coin mechanism. And the clients of their bank can make transactions with the clients of our bank, but it's real dollars that get converted on the back end to Bitcoin in our wallet, and then get transferred over their wallet, and then get reconverted back. So it's a trusted system that you have to be a member of the Tacit Pay system in order to make those transactions. We don't have Bitcoins going out anywhere, but through that trusted system. We're not going to necessarily dive into the Bitcoin, trying to get Bitcoins or make direct transactions using Bitcoin, but indirectly, we'll convert dollars to Bitcoin to make those transactions go faster and get them in their wallets, get them in their bank accounts so they can start making interest. On my end, where I try to keep our clients safe, is if you ever go to Security Scorecard, you can look that up, securityscorecard.com, and look up Western Alliance Bank. You'll see that our security scorecard for our bank is 97%. And I'm pretty proud of that. I've been working since 2015 to increase that score. And what causes it to go down is change, or the introduction of new technologies, or a new website, or a new vendor. And that score may drop. And then we have to find out why that score dropped. What system is out there that's public facing that may have a vulnerability, and we have to work and coordinate getting that taken care of. But by maintaining our public score, we keep the security scorecard of our company at a hardened level that's more difficult to hack and to attack. So that's one way we keep our clients safe. Internally, now that's just the external facing, right? Internally, we do the same thing. We have systems that scan for vulnerabilities within the system. We train our people. It's a Fed requirement, federal government requirement, that we train our employees on how to recognize phish. Our employees are really good at it. And we analyze every phish, and we share that information with other financial firms in a financial threat sharing exchange. And we proactively hunt for phish. You know, if we sit back and wait for people to tell us, hey, I think this is suspicious, well then, you know, what about the people that, you know, get caught and don't get reported? So we're proactively hunting for phish using threat intel from other financial institutions that say, hey, we just got hit by a phishing campaign. So we look to see, did we get hit by it? And yeah, we did. And it never got reported. So we purged that email out of the environment. We're constantly looking for threats in the environment. Does that answer your question? Good.
John, do you have anything from Cambridge that you guys are doing to protect your reputation?
We have a great reputation. We are very secure, and the difference between Western Alliance, like, we are the investment. We are a broker dealer, so we execute the trades. For our clients, we hook them all up and everything. So all of that is very, very secure. We take it very, very serious. The CTO is not allowing our databases to be up in the cloud because he's so freaked out about security. It's very highly protected. We have a whole security team, at least 25, 30 people that are constantly looking at our transactions, seeing if there's any weird stuff, any fraud going on. We have AI, we have ML going on in the background too for a bunch of stuff. Because trying to look at billions of transactions per day, you're not going to do it. You cannot hire up enough people, so you have to have the security, the programs going out there and really taking a look at those transactions. But we really, and when I say we, it's the royal we of like IS. We totally depend on the IT, the security group completely.
Go ahead.
Well, we do it in two parts.
Pain and suffering.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me repeat the question. How do we get our user base to a level where they can detect that, hey, this email doesn't look right? They're trying to trick me into clicking a URL or opening attachment or going out to buy gift card. So we do it in two ways. First, it's as a banking institution, the feds require us to train our employees. We have to show evidence and artifacts that quarterly that they have to take a class on how to spot a malicious email. The second way we do it is we run tests. We actually send a phish. We source it from us. We make it up. I think our most recent one had a theme for check your vacation accruals before they expire at the end of the year, and everybody's like, whoa, don't want my vacation to expire. And we catch them. But other people say, wait a minute, it doesn't have the external flag on it. We make sure all inbound email, or I'm sorry, it has the external flag on it. We make sure all inbound email from the outside gets an external flag on the subject and gets a warning in bright red lights on the body that says, hey, be careful, this came from the outside, not from the inside. Still, people don't catch that. And they say HR at Western Alliance Bank with a missing one of the L's, like a misspelled domain, and they get caught. But our level, compared to other banks our size, our level of maturity on detecting phish, and we measure them, did they click on it and did they log in with their username and password? That's the two failures. The measure of our bank is better than other banks in this industry. And recently we implemented a policy that if you fail 3 times in a row,
Gotta go.
gotta go.
What? Wait, repeat that? If they fail three
times
times,
in a
they're
row.
no longer an employee.
Now those are vendors. I'm sorry. If
Oh,
a vendor
okay.
fails 3 times in a row, For an employee, it may affect your bonus, right? So that's how we've helped grow our. It is an incentive, yes.
Especially when it affects your bonus.
Yeah.
So a couple terms that come up here. We talked about cryptocurrency. I think blockchain might have been mentioned. If not, AI, machine learning. I'll throw out quantum computing. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but is FinTech playing in those newer areas? I mean, it sounds like AI is like everywhere for FinTech, but it's crypto, blockchain, all those things. I mean, is quantum computing on the radar at all when it comes to what it can possibly change?
So in all of my experiences with FinTech, you're dealing with really old technology. So the tech debt is huge. And a lot of these FinTech companies, and believe it or not, COBOL systems, they're secure, they work, and the banks and everyone are like, we're not going to change because it works. But it comes to a point that no one really knows COBOL. No one knows any of this stuff. So the technical debt is huge with a lot of these companies out there. We don't really like to go too fast. My company, I was hired out for the microservices, the Docker, the Kubernetes, the architecture, the development of like that. That is really new technology for them. Even though it's been out there for years, financial companies, they don't want to risk losing customers. They don't want to lose money. They don't want to lose their reputation. So getting to these newer technologies, it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be next year. It's not going to be 4 or 5 years from now. They will eventually get to it, but they have to scope it all out. You really have to do your due diligence, and it also has to be compliant. For us, we are SEC as well as FINRA, and so you have to go by certain guidelines and rules and stuff. So, yeah, it's great. The new tech out there is great, but we won't go there so quick.
So, actually, any questions? Gonna work our way through the room. Anybody? Yep.
Yes. So at Cambridge, we have people that don't even have any financial knowledge. We have people that because my company, we're about 4,100, and we have about 3,900 financial professionals, and we have about 1,000 full-time employees that just do the job. We have people that worked at Trader Joe's, and we trained them in the financial industry, and we're not talking programming. We're talking cashiering the money, of talking to FPs. But as far as the technology stuff, you will be dealing with technology that is older. We do train. We don't expect people to learn it overnight. When I started, and like I said before, I've been in FinTech for 19 years. This is the first time in investments, and it drives me nuts that I don't know everything. And everyone's like, "You'll learn. Just take your time. It'll take about a year or 2 years to like really get to know it." And I'm getting frustrated because I'm one that I want to know. I want to know everything. I want to know now. I want to know that. But you will be learning and dealing with technologies that are not current. You will get trained, and if it's a great company, they will be patient with you. And trust me, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake at your first, your second, your third, your fourth, or fifth job. The very first company I worked for, I deleted a whole database, and I was freaked out. But it was all in memory, and I didn't know that, and I freaked out. And the senior developer came up to me and said, "Let's go out and have lunch." I'm like, the whole database is gone. And he's like, "Relax." And we had lunch, and I'm sweating. It was the worst lunch of my whole entire life. Came back and he said, "Here, this is how you fix it. You will make mistakes. Just know that going into any type of job, any type of company, a good company will be patient with you."
So I'm going to jump in because I admit I made a mistake. I deleted all the hotels from a Hilton's in Arizona when I first started my first job. You went to the website, you had the box with the little red X up in the corner because I ran the wrong Linux command in the wrong window. I thought it was on dev and I was on production. So yes, we make mistakes. I just wanted to share that. So
I wanted to expand. You're learning if, then, else. You're learning for loops. You're learning about variables, hashes, arrays. these and objects, right? These things are common in any programming language. So what you're learning today will probably be old in 10 years, but those same base elements are common, and you're going to be fine. I started with Perl, went on to Python, have to learn JavaScript, got to learn, of course, HTML, got to learn that. But you're going to constantly learn, and yeah, there's going to be resources for you at a company you go to. I'm hopefully. And as far as making mistakes, I deleted Root's home directory on a server once. Freaked out. Let's hope you work for a company that has good backups, redundancy, a secondary server. That's what happened with me. The dude just went into the other server and copied all the files over. So, but yeah, things happen. I worked for a company though where I also made mistakes. Luckily, I took down an interface facing the internet for our entire state of Arizona, and we had colleges, NAUs, learning. They're doing video at the time. I took it all down. But the good news was I was the only one that knew what I was doing. So I just simply fixed it, and nobody even knew. It's great. All right.
Yeah. So companies are patient. I mean, when they hire you, they're not going to fire you within a week because you made a mistake. They're not going to fire you in 6 months because you made a mistake, unless I guess you're opening up phishing emails you're not supposed to. So we have a question from over there.
So it's going to be personal with every employer, but me personally, the one thing I'm looking for first off is work ethic. I can take a smart and hire a smart person, but their work ethic is horrible. Then I'm not going to get much benefit out of them. So it's folks that have strong work ethic. I can tell if they got strong work ethic because the 2 years experience will come from a college that they've gone to where they have hands-on labs. I count that as 2 years experience. I want students that know Linux. So if I always question. I say, what does LS do? What does cat do? What does I give them some quizzes, and I can tell right away whether they know Linux or not. But also, there's things outside. There's a candidate that came to me once that not only met all those qualifications, but went to the cyber warfare range and would help set up servers, go in during the day and train new students coming in. And then I went on his LinkedIn, and he was sharing these TCP/IP PCAPs that he was doing, the Wireshark, capture the flag, and he was showing his status on, I captured the flag, blah, blah, and just looking through his LinkedIn, I noticed he was doing things way outside of school. And I thought, man, that's a passionate person, right? Work ethic. So that's what I'm looking for, I think, when I hire an employee. Does that make sense? Good.
I agree 100%. Look, all right, I'm back on my pedestal, guys. You cannot be average. Don't be average. Get out there, do more than what's expected, and understand the theory behind what it is you're doing. I mean, I can go and I can get, when I put a job opening out there, I see 200 applicants for a single job. Do you know, file 13, that little can on the floor by my desk, it comes when you start to see people who are just rigid and have not shown any flexibility. And I do look at your LinkedIn to determine who you are. LinkedIn, social media, all that stuff, because in my opinion, and I'm a unique person here, there are two kinds of people in IT. There are the kids in high school that were super cool and accidentally got too smart, and you have the smart kids who accidentally got cool by learning technology. And you have to interview those people differently. So if I got the cool kid who accidentally got too smart, I'm going to drill you on your technical qualifications because I see you've got the social skills, and you're most likely, those cool kids understand theory. And I know that sounds weird, but what that means to me is they understand the way social dynamics and business systems tie together. That relationship and being able to tie things together, that comes from a lot of your social abilities. However, that also means that you can make very big wrong guesses about technology because it doesn't make sense to you. So you need to interview those people on the technical side and their ability to derive answers from technology. On the other side of the house, when I get my brain bugs that come in there and they've got their heads full of knowledge and they know everything about every technology piece, then I'm going to hit you with, So what do you do when no one agrees with you? Because you know you're right. How do you handle that situation? How do you become a key influencer without becoming the burr in everyone's saddle? So I'm going to interview you based upon what I've seen on your social media, because that's going to tell me who you are. And once I know who you are, then I'm coming for you. And if you make it past one of my interviews, I'm going to make sure that I feed you until you burst, and we're going to put you at the top of the food chain as quickly as possible, because that's a rare thing. People who have the work ethic and the drive to do more, and they know who they are very, very rare in our industry. And you guys are probably sitting in this room and you know people who are one of the two categories, and that's exactly what you need to be able to recognize.
And I think the other thing, just being in this room, whether you're the business students hearing technology or the technology students hearing business, this is something that's going to set you apart when you go and interview. When you say, what'd you do at GCU? I went out of my comfort zone and I listened to a technology presentation or a business presentation. So, well, I'll take one more question, then we'll go back to the audience for the last question. We're getting close on time.
Can I mention something real quick,
Sure.
just for the business students? None of us would be employed without these business folks driving what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I just want to mention to the business folks, it's your understanding of what our clients need and why they may be contemplating going to a different bank or a different FinTech. That sort of drives change in our company. And Bobby mentioned he gets some of these projects that come from the business to say, well, I have clients that need this movement of their money and we can't do it. How do you make it happen? Those are the things that are driven from the business side. So there's a great convergence of IT and business within this realm.
Yeah, and I think that's an important component, is that all businesses are finance, accounting, sales, marketing, technology. They all work together. So my last question for the panel is, what role does a finance person have that understands a little bit of technology? And what role does the technology person have that has a little understanding of finance? Where do they fit into this equation versus somebody who's only tech or only finance?
Those are going to be the only people who have jobs in the future. If you get into a business and you don't know the technology that supports that business, what are you doing? I mean, you've got to know the basics. Start with Microsoft Excel. I mean, if you're on the business side of the house, you've got to be able to know what formulas to use to derive the answers you need. And then you just, extrapolate upon that. What are the tools that are the key line of business tools for your industry? They're all going to be digital in one way or another. They're going to be on a computer. You've got to be able to navigate that machine and be able to get to the answer quickly, because there's somebody out there that's, working 30 minutes to an hour faster than you, and that's the person that's going to beat you out for the promotion. So you've got to have technology, and you've got to have your business sense.
And as far as big data is concerned, if a business analyst can look at patterns in data and say, these drivers of our business are making more money, now the business can focus to put more human resources on that effort, more technology into that effort. Maybe there's some suffering on another side of the business. Maybe there needs to be some more automation. Maybe things are more manual and things are slower. So being able to establish patterns within big data, being able to query big data, I see business analysts doing that all the time. And it doesn't take bringing an IT person or the struggles they're going through in security. Being able to see those patterns is a terrific way to parlay your understanding of a business into IT.
And John, how about the other way? What would a technology student benefit from understanding finance, this kind of stuff you're doing?
Definitely, because of when you're coding credits and debits and other stuff of the business, you need to know what you're coding for. You just don't want to be a zombie and just if A equals 1. I mean, come on, show some type of initiative, learn the business. For me, I learned almost every single business in every single industry I was in, and I've always excelled. They will promote those that will learn the business from the technical side, learning the business, because then it means much more whenever you have an architect meeting and you start to raise questions saying, well, what about this? And then they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. The business is huge. Scrum masters, product owners, product managers, and everything. are huge in business. And when you have that relationship and the collaboration between the two, it just makes for a way better day every day. Because let's face it, you're going to spend more time at work than you are with your girlfriend or wife or husband or boyfriend. It's huge of when you can have a great relationship. But knowing the business, it's crucial.
Professor, yeah.
So the question was, how open are we to having the students reach out to us via LinkedIn and friend requests and all that other stuff? Speaking for myself personally, I expect it. And I'll tell you why I expect it. Recruiting costs me 30% of every new person's salary for the first year. If I can speak to you directly, how much money have I just saved my bank? You think that I'm here just speaking out of the goodness of my heart? No, I am elope and I love being here. But I want you guys to understand networking is key. You've got to get out there, build your local celebrity. What happens if this guy right here, never seen him before in my life, but I remember him when I see him someplace else. Says, didn't I just see you over at GCU? That connection gives him a leg up on people that I've never seen before. Reach out to us on LinkedIn, but don't just do the standard, hey, LinkedIn, I want to expand my network. I'm going to deny that as fast as you sent it. Say, hey, I saw you speaking at this event and I wanted to reach out and get to know you and see what we can do. Great. I'll accept it. And then the next time you communicate with me, open with, what do you want from me? Say, hey, Bobby, I'm looking for opportunities like this, this, and this. Can you help me out? Do you know somebody you can point me to? Do you know what opportunities are available? I'll go out of my way to get that for you. I have people that are in my network that will do that for you. And I mean, I'll look like a rock star, but I'm really just gonna say, hey, I just got this. Can you help this person out? And it comes back to me, and then I send it to you. And it's like, Bobby, help me out. Well, it was actually Becky over here that did it for me. So you guys have got to use your network. I insist upon it. So I'm looking for you. And, I got a question for you. How many of you showed up today with your resumes ready? Y'all must be eating really, really well, because those of you who did raise your hands, you're telling me you're not hungry. Okay? Get hungry. Come looking for us. I mean, this is exposure to a group of people who can plug you in to the right stuff. That's right now, you are GCU, you will graduate, you will be a GCU alum. That means that every time I see somebody invite me as a friend request on LinkedIn, I see that little lope jumping across the screen. I'm like, well, I'll at least look at it. We take care of our own. We develop our networks because we know each other. And the more we do that, we start our own good old boy network. Not acceptable to just lay back and be average. Average is what people do when they fail to do their personal best and they compare themselves to other people to feel better about it. Okay? Let's get it.
And Western Alliance Banks has some roles open, both internships and entry-level roles. You can talk to them after.
Every year.
John, anything going on at Cambridge?
Yeah, so we do have paid internships, and we also have open positions on LinkedIn, also our website, joincambridge.com, and anyone can link me up on LinkedIn as well.
Dr. Rowland, I don't mean to throw you under. Do you have any last-minute comments for our group of, big group of people?
So well done. You are now a better person, and you have a better understanding of FinTech. You have some good connections, some good people to get some feedback from, connections to be made. I love the comment about networking, super important. I did not know the statistic of 30% of their annual salary for recruiting. That's craziness. But very good. I'm sticking around. These guys are sticking around for a few minutes, maybe, if they don't have to sneak out. So ask your questions. Thank you, Rob, for leading and for pulling this together. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.